All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel again. Thank y'all so much for coming over, man. We're back on the Grunge channel. We got classic rock songs with secret meanings. I want to see how many songs in here I've already reacted to and if I already knew the meaning. You know, when I react to music, I try to do a deep dive and really try to figure out what the song is about. So yeah, I'm excited for this, man. Again, appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
Jilted lovers, disillusioned war vets, and blood-sucking vampires. Think you know the real meaning behind some of your favorite classic rock songs? Think again. Along with the Apple II and Star Wars, the Eagles' Hotel California is one of the biggest cultural achievements of 1977. The classic track won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year and racked up millions of sales, but it still remained somewhat hard to interpret. The song's masterful use of imagery can leave a listener with too many meanings to narrow down. Thankfully, members of the band have weighed in on the hidden meaning of Hotel California. In a 2002 interview with 60 Minutes, Eagles vocalist Don Henley, who co-wrote the song, said the song was about excess and the dark underbelly of the American dream. Henley went on to note that he and his bandmates were middle-class kids from the Midwest and framed the track as their interpretation of the high life in Los Angeles. In a 2018 interview with 60 Minutes Australia, Henley further explained,
"The song is simply about a journey from innocence to experience."
U.2 is one of the biggest bands in the world, but while it had tremendous success in Europe in the band's early days, it took 5 albums to truly top the charts in the United States. The first single from the album, The Joshua Tree, was With or Without You, a massive power ballad that remains one of the band's most iconic tracks.
And it's become this, big song for us.
Anyone could tell you that With or Without You is about an impossible relationship, but U2's Bono has taken a more introspective stance on its lyrics. Instead of focusing on a doomed love affair between two parties, U2's biggest hit is at least partially about two halves of Bono's personality. U2 famously kept up a brutal touring schedule that separated Bono from his family for long periods of time, leaving him in a poor mental space that led him to write the song. Speaking to Rolling Stone in 1986, he explained that he found it almost impossible to be married while touring with U2, prompting the bittersweet song. Bruce Springsteen's 1984 classic, Born in the U.S.A. is not a subtle song, but the overwhelming majority of its uses in public life completely misinterpret the message of its lyrics. An embarrassing percentage of listeners hear the booming chorus and assume it's a mighty cry of patriotism and not the grim tale of a military veteran abandoned by his country. Springsteen also received positive attention from the song from a lot of people who he disagreed with, including Ronald Reagan, who gave the boss a shout-out in a speech.
It rests in the message of hope in songs of a man so many young Americans admire, New Jersey's own Bruce Springsteen.
A mention from the then President of the United States ultimately prompted Springsteen to address the misunderstanding during a concert. He playfully suggested that conflicting interpretations of his work only lead to greater popularity and success, and offered thanks to those who didn't get the message. While the song was initially a jab at the United States' unwillingness to take care of its veterans, many politicians who pursued further conflicts used Springsteen's work to promote their campaigns. The Police's Every Breath You Take was a massive hit that has only become more successful over the years. In 2019, Broadcast Music Incorporated recognized Every Breath You Take as the most performed song in their catalog of more than 4 million tracks. Hacky stand-up comedians and parody artists used to joke about the song as a stalker's anthem. The implication of those jokes is that the song was initially the kind of touching love story that would perfectly soundtrack a wedding, but those jokes accurately described Every Breath You Take's intentions.
There's something a little off about it. I think that's its power.
According to the Financial Times, Sting described the track as a nasty little song. He went on to explain, "It's about jealousy and surveillance and ownership." The song emerged from Sting's mind as a response to his first marriage falling apart and the impending breakup of the band. Like a lot of classic rock songs, Sweet Emotion is far better known for its bass riff and guitar.
That's what I'll be saying, man. Like you could listen to music. I always talk about like songs that have like deep meanings, but like the beat is good. You find yourself dancing, but the song is like extremely serious when you do that deep dive and find out what it's about, and now you're feeling a little conflicted. Should I be dancing to this? But yeah, I knew about the Every Breath You Take.
Arrangement than for the lyrics. A quick listen might give the impression of a song about freedom and the hippie spirit, but the lyrics are a bit more contentious and accusatory. Though Aerosmith had some life success, Sweet Emotion came about at a time when clashing personalities threatened to shut the project down. One of the chief issues was guitarist Joe Perry's first wife, Alyssa. Once upon a time, lead singer Steven Tyler approached the Perry's hotel room in search of drugs. He was experiencing symptoms of withdrawal and desperate for a fix, but Perry and his wife refused to allow Tyler into their room, keeping the drugs for themselves. Allegedly, Tyler became so infuriated at his friend that he started crafting some of the hateful lyrics in Sweet Emotion. Perry, for his part, left the band in 1979, divorced Alyssa in 1982, and rejoined the band the following year. Van Halen's hit song from 1984, Panama, was an instant classic that found just about everything you could say about a car and a woman at the same time. The song's metaphor arose from an apparent accusation that lead singer David Lee Roth only wrote songs about women, partying, and cars. This prompted Roth to realize he'd never actually covered motor vehicles in his music. Panama could be about one of several cars, including the Panama Express drag vehicle he once saw in a race, or an old station wagon he had mounted in his home. The song opens with the mighty revving of a powerful engine, specifically Eddie Van Halen's 1972 Lamborghini Miura S, but that vehicle isn't the subject either. The music video also depicts a prominent car, but it still probably isn't the Panama in question. Roth has been somewhat deliberately vague about the song's real subject, but he's been very clear that it has nothing to do with the country or its signature hat. Ozzy Osbourne has definitely earned his reputation for wild stage antics. However, hardcore fans know that he's always been a family man as well as a rock star. Look at his 19...
Mama, I'm Coming Home. Have I reacted to that one? Mama, I'm Coming Home. I might have, but that's not ringing a bell, that title.
1991 classic, Mama, I'm Coming Home, which should be counted as one of the great wife guy anthems. Mama, I'm Coming Home is a moving power ballad that covers Osbourne's addiction issues and the woman who stuck with him through it all, his wife Sharon.
What's been your greatest moment?
Reaching Sharon.
In the liner notes from his 1997 compilation album, The Ozman Cometh, he stated that the song's title was the phrase he used when he'd end calls with his wife while on tour. While it's reasonable to assume that Osbourne is singing about his mother, Mama was a sweet nickname for his lovely wife. Fleetwood Mac's 1974 classic Landslide touches on the stormy relationship between guitarist Lindsey Buckingham and vocalist Stevie Nicks. While that is certainly the main underlying theme of the track, there's another key relationship in Nick's life that informed the lyrics. Nicks has discussed Landslide several times, pushing back against a variety of interpretations. In her 1998 episode of VH1's Storytellers, she told an applauding crowd that practically every one of her friends and family members assumed she wrote Landslide for them. She singled out her dad, pointing out that he did have something to do with its creation. While speaking to the Arizona Republic, she was slightly more willing to credit him, saying the song was about a father-daughter relationship. Those shifting stories suggest that the song covers complicated feelings about both relationships. Pink Floyd formed in 1965 with the initial lineup of Roger Waters on bass, Rick Wright on keyboard, Nick Mason on drums, and Syd Barrett on lead guitar. In many ways, Barrett helmed the early creative direction of the band, but he tragically had a decline in mental health that pushed him out by 1968. Floyd's 1975 album, Wish You Were Here, is often interpreted as a mournful farewell to Barrett, but the title track is about more than one thing. Wish You Were Here definitely touches on the loss and creative separation that followed Barrett's absence, but Waters also intended the song to be an introspective call to action. In a 2012 documentary entitled Pink Floyd, The Story of Wish You Were Here, he stated, "It's to encourage myself not to accept a lead role in a cage, but to go on demanding of myself that I keep auditioning for the walk-on part in the war." The song's urge to experience life and be in the trenches is as much a message to Waters as it is to any given listener.
I don't know, we're just two lost souls, swimming in a fishbowl.
In his rise to prominence in the 1970s, David Robert Jones was known by a lot of different names: Ziggy Stardust, the Thin White Duke, and most prominently as the legendary rock star David Bowie. However, before he went on that streak of constant reinvention, he created Major Tom, the astronaut from Space Oddity. In 1980, Bowie decided to give an update on Major Tom in Ashes to Ashes. The result was a fond farewell to both the character and 70s Bowie. Ashes to Ashes explains that Major Tom's ill-fated journey has left him alone and adrift in space, forcing him to turn to drugs. Bowie explained that Tom's absence was a creative decision to mark a conclusion for a very important decade. In Nicholas Pegg's book, The Complete David Bowie, Bowie said, "I was wrapping up the 70s really for myself. Major Tom perfectly bookended the 1970s, allowing Bowie to comfortably begin and then end the most iconic phase of his career." Cream's biggest charting hit was their 1967 classic Sunshine of Your Love, but they also scored a top 10 spot with their 1968 single White Room. Like a lot of Cream songs, the lyrics can be a bit difficult to piece together. Their imagery is striking, but the deeper meaning seems buried beneath the shadowy narrative of a mysterious blank space in the station. While the music clearly borrows from Jimi Hendrix, the lyrics come from songwriter Pete Brown's Pale Apartment. Brown told Songfacts, "I lived in this actual white room and was trying to come to terms with various things that were going on." He stated that the room in question became a critical location for him, providing him a transitional space to finally break his addictions. Brown explained the outlet, "It's a place where I stopped. I gave up all drugs and alcohol at that time in 1967 as a result of being in the white room." Brown also stated that part of the reason the song is remembered today is that it maintains a bit of mystery in its cryptic lyrics. Bonnie Tyler's two most successful songs arose from her work with producer Jim Steinman, who made a name for himself working on operatic rock tracks for Meatloaf. Steinman wrote and produced her song Total Eclipse of the Heart, which immediately became one of Tyler's biggest hits, even though it wasn't originally intended for her. The lyrics to Total Eclipse of the Heart feel operatic in an almost gothic way, bathing their soaring romantic tone in references to shadow and darkness. When Steinman used the song again for his 2002 musical production Dance of the Vampires, he told Playbill that a musical about vampires was always its intended purpose.
Here.
Steinman allegedly penned Total Eclipse of the Heart as Vampires in Love, stating that he was working on a musical of Nosferatu. The song stands perfectly well with the conceit that both main characters are vampires, arguably offering a lesson to future balladeers.
So did any of this surprise or shock you? Did you guys already know this? Because in the past, when I've done music reactions and I do my deep dive, find out what the song is about, I've read a lot of comments where people would say, "Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know this song was about this or that." Because a lot of times people just listen to music just to enjoy it. It's pretty crazy though, like how you could not even think of something, and then you find out and you're just like, wow, like, so I got a whole different, like you look at the song or the artist differently, whether it's good or bad. Some artists will have a song and they'll be admitting to them cheating or doing something bad, but you didn't even realize that because it's crazy. It's crazy. But I feel like it's very important to really grasp and understand what the lyrics are about, because you can connect to it more or disconnect. I don't know. Hey, appreciate you guys coming over. Please like, share, and comment below. Peace out.